Yeah, so obviously if my wife was watching it wasn't as good as my wedding day.
Thank you.
But, you know, if she's not watching it, it's probably up there with it, actually.
Welcome everybody, I'm joined by Andrew Webley, CEO and founder of the Smarter Web Company. A big day in their history yesterday as they listed on the main market of the London Stock Exchange. Now, not only did this happen, but Andrew was there to ring the bell for the LSE at 8 a.m. yesterday, along with 100 shareholders, the management team and their families. Quite the moment, Andrew. How did that feel?
It was amazing, actually. It's a moment that we've been building up to for many months, albeit we hadn't been able to say it publicly. An awful lot of work had gone into it, and yeah, it was pretty surreal, really.
And so take us through the day. How does it progress from when you wake up in the morning? Did you even sleep the night before?
So we travelled up the day before, the team, and we went for a meal the evening before with, some family members, and that was really nice because, obviously everyone's in different parts of the world. Tyler in the States, Jesse in the States, the rest in different parts of the UK.
Go on, what restaurant do you go to the night before every CEO's dream?
We went to the Oxo Tower, which was nice actually, because we had a view over the city, which we thought was appropriate given what was happening. And it was good. Yeah, we had a set menu, so that was quite nice. And then, we had to leave the hotel a little bit after 7 in the morning.
Okay.
Because clearly the stock market will open whether we're there or not, and there's a lot of people to get in.
Yeah.
So we and the shareholders, the advisors, we all arrived around about 7:20, and then it absolutely flew by. And you're only there for about sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours. There's an opening ceremony, which is basically you press a button and the market opens. You see your company trading, and that's quite special.
Is it a bit like your wedding day? It just kind of flashes past, and you only have small memories.
Yeah, so obviously if my wife was watching it wasn't as good as my wedding day.
Thank you.
But if she's not watching it, it's probably up there with it, actually.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. But it's not just about me and what the Smarter Web Company means to me. It's about all of the shareholders, and a lot of people said to me that they haven't seen many shareholders at these things before. So what we did is we did a raffle through our website where shareholders could say if they wanted to come. And then we, did the raffle so that we could invite as many as we were able to invite in the space restrictions. So, it wasn't just, like the management team and, all of that stuff patting themselves on the back. It was literally the people that the business is run for, all joining in the moment together. So it was pretty good. And
you have got quite a following, haven't you? There's a community built on X or Twitter. What reassurance does it give you when you read those messages? Or how does that play into your role as CEO?
Yes, we've got the third largest community for a Bitcoin Treasury company in the world, which is quite good. And most days I have a look at what they're saying. It's just like another team member in a way, because without sort of giving the secret away, literally I look at what everyone says, and if there's any good ideas in there, I factor that into our plans. So it's good for the shareholders because they're, without knowing, having an impact on what we're doing, and it's good for the company because we're getting more ideas that we can then filter out.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. There's occasionally, there's something that you don't fully agree with. But I believe in free speech, and that's fine. So you obviously can't engage in the same way that you would if you weren't part of the company. But even ignoring myself, how the community members all deal with each other when I see it, it's all respectful, positive. So yeah, it's a really important part of the shareholder mix, and I'm very lucky to have the support.
Are there any conversations that you recall from yesterday of shareholders saying thank you, or do they just want to meet you? There's, of course, that iconic picture of Jensen signing somebody's even chests, you know, and their T-shirts and everything. You know, there's a little bit of a vibe about you in these situations as well.
Yeah, so you know, I get it quite a lot where people come up to me and they say that, you know, it's really changed their lives, where they bought X and then they sold some of it at Y and, you know, banked, you know, Z and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I never tire of hearing that. You know, it's fantastic. But, you know, obviously when you've got a very volatile stock, there's people that have got a different experience, you know, where they've bought and it'll be worth less. So, you know, my focus is on, you know, what we do tomorrow, not what we did yesterday. You know, because I want all of our shareholders to have hopefully to hold their shares for a very, very long time and benefit from that. But if I'm honest, it was a bit of a blur yesterday. You know, I had the opening ceremony and then I went straight to my first meeting. I had meetings all day. And then I managed to get back to the hotel for 20 minutes where I quickly retweeted a load of things because I hadn't been sort of keeping up so well during the day. And then we went to a shareholders drinks reception that we organised. So anyone that couldn't come, in addition to those that could come, we bought everyone a drink, you know, supplied a little bit of, you know, light food. And that was really cool. That was about 3-4 hours, I think it was, last night. And it was great to talk to most of the people there, and loads of the other team members were there. And so then, you know, I didn't get back to the hotel until about midnight and up again about 5 o'clock this morning.
The life of a CEO. Talking about that work that's still to come, where does yesterday rank in the history of the company? Is it a important milestone, or is it just the starter's pistol? Was this always the aim to get onto the main market?
Oh, it's massive. You know, this is, when we look back at this in a year, 2 years' time, this is a structural defining moment for the company. So when we listed the business originally, we listed on Aquis because it was cheaper and quicker. Aquis has been a good market for us. We were over 60% of their volume for the 9 and a bit months that we were there. So it's a great junior exchange. Now, that said, you know, we outgrew it. And the institutional capital that we need to attract, not just on a UK scale, but on a global scale, you know, the vast majority of that will not invest in a non-LSE stock. So it's important for the active money, but it's also potentially more important for the index inclusion. So what we'll have potentially from about a month-ish from now is we'll start to qualify for indexes. So up until now, we've never been in an index. So we should get in the FTSE All Share, the FTSE Small Cap. I believe this year we've got a good chance of getting into the FTSE 250. And all of this capital flows complements all of the other strategies that we do, which will help us achieve my dream of getting into the FTSE 100 and then becoming one of the most valuable companies in the UK. So this is, you know, it's a structural defining moment in the company history, in my view.
And remind us, how long has the company, or this part of the company especially, been in its current form?
Yeah, so we listed on Aquis on the 25th of April 2025. So that's approximately 9.5 months ago. So you could say that within, you know, less than 10 months, we've done effectively 2 IPOs. So, and we've done all of that alongside raising one of the largest amounts of capital in the UK, becoming the 29th biggest company in the world holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, building out a team of really, really great experienced people to do all of the different things that shareholders should want a company like this to do, you know, all the governance things, all the marketing, all the operational things. So, you know, we've certainly been quite busy for 10 months, but I believe the next, you know, year, 2 years, 3 years, things will get even busier, and I can't wait.
And for all the CEOs that are watching this, or potential CEOs, entrepreneurs, what would you say the lessons learned are?
I think the most important thing is that you've got to love what you do, you know. Like, all of this doesn't feel like a job to me because, you know, it's my business. I set it up. I decided to list it, and I'm lucky enough still to own a reasonable amount of it. But if you don't love what you do, so this is what I say to my kids all the time. I say, I don't care what you do when you're older, as long as you're happy, because everything else will then fall into place. So it's the same in business. If you love what you do, then it's absolutely fine, isn't it? I think if you're doing it purely for money or something like that, then I think it's very difficult to put the effort in. And, you know, if you look at this job or your job or any other job, you know, every job is difficult. And you've got to stick to it every single minute of every single day, grinding away at it, because otherwise you won't outperform. You know, if we were athletes, for example, you know, we'd be training, 2 times, 3 times a day, so we could be better and better and better all the time.
As well as your diet, your sleep routine, massages,
every minute detail to get it, everything optimized. And if you don't love it and you're not thinking about it all the time, you're not going to do that. So I would say to anyone, whether they want to, you know, run a listed company or a private company or whatever they want to do, you know, if you believe in it, then, you know, go for it.
And what about downtime? How do you manage all the stress of the company and the energy it takes with managing to get some time out for yourself?
Well, I work very long days, so, you know, if I'm honest about it, there isn't really any downtime. You know, at the weekends, I normally have a couple of hours off on a Saturday and also on a Sunday. But, you know, but before we became a public company, I worked not quite as long hours, but, you know, very long hours anyway. So, and then before I set up the company, I worked very long hours when I worked at HL before. So, you know, I love work, and I'm lucky that my family don't mind me working. So,
well,
you know.
Speaking of your family, your son was there alongside you yesterday. He looked very proud. Did he have a message for Dad last night?
I spoke to my wife last night and made sure that Josh got back home okay. And she said that he seemed really happy and was, you know, very proud. And yeah, it was really special for him to be there. You know, this is about building a company for the future of the UK, and that includes my children.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty awesome. You know, it was a shame that my wife and my daughter couldn't be there, but there was other commitments there. So, but you know, it was great sharing that with Josh. You know, it meant a lot to me. And when I did this speech afterwards, you know, which normally I don't write them down quite as detailed as I did yesterday, but I must admit I found it very difficult when I did the family thank you there.
You got caught in the throat there, didn't you?
Yeah, it was tough actually.
Yeah. Excellent. Andrew Webley, thank you so much for joining us the day after ringing the bell at the London Stock Exchange and being added to the main market. A tremendous milestone, and we certainly look forward to hearing more to come.
Thank you, Rich.